You're listening to XVGM Radio. Welcome to XVGM Radio, where the bits keep coming. I'm Justin.
And I'm Mike.
And this is episode 101. We are talking about Elevator Action Returns.
Yes, a single game spotlight on the Sega Saturn version of the arcade game Elevator Action 2.
Yes.
Yeah. So how did this one come about? You just this is all you.
Yeah. I've been pushing for this for a while. So one of two things happened. Either one of my friends, likely you or Brian, turned me on to the soundtrack for this, or it came up when I was on, one of our primary music sources, just kind of going, like hitting random, and I came across one of the tracks and was like, oh, this is nice. Like, nice fat bass, really smooth. And then I listened to the rest of the soundtrack and went, oh, I gotta, we gotta do this. And I brought it up to you, and you were like, oh yeah, no, I know the soundtrack. And we kind of just had it sitting and waiting, and now is the time.
Yeah. We definitely did a Zuntata episode way back when, which was like, what, episode 57, I think?
Was it that long ago?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was a while ago. It was episode 57.
Wow.
We did a Zuntata / Taito episode. And so this was definitely on our radar, but all the music was so good, and we were like, you know what? I remember talking to you about this, and I was like, we got to save this soundtrack because it's just so very good. And so we did, and you kindly reminded me about this one and was like, yo, we should do a full episode on this. And I was like, yo, we should. Mm-hmm. And so there we go.
And here we are.
And the track that we came in on was DEF.
Deaf.
It was not a Def Jam. I mean, it was Def. Like, it was dope. It was fresh. It was funky. I really like the rolling kind of bass drum on this. And that funky bass. I mean, this whole soundtrack is very jazz-oriented, like funky jazz. It's really cool stuff. There's a pleasant mix of influence from the jazz genre. The compositions on this one were done by Yasuhisa Watanabe of Zuntata. Mm-hmm. So we've got a bunch of tracks. We didn't pick every single track, but we tried to fit as much as we could in for this episode. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the game, our experience with the game, and I don't know, what else? Cheese. Maybe we'll talk about some cheese.
So it's possible that'll be in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like you said, we're not going to be playing every track from the game. The soundtrack that we have has 27 songs on it. Mm-hmm. So obviously we are only playing 11 in this episode.
Yes.
So there is more than double that if you go to seek this soundtrack out.
Indeed. The soundtrack for Elevator Action 2, this is like the Saturn rendition of the soundtrack, so I really couldn't tell too much of a difference. This sounds a little cleaner, almost like Red Book Audio. Yeah. It's a lot closer to Red Book Audio than the arcade version, which is a little bit more chip-based, or at least that's the way it sounded to me. So
yeah, I think that was one of the other defining factors of it. Is I wanted to do specifically Elevator Action Returns on the Saturn, just because the soundtrack for it sounded a little bit better.
Right.
So
this came out on arcade. It also came out on Saturn and the iArcade as well, which is like a newer like arcade type system. It was ported to North America because it never came out on the Saturn in North America or Europe, I believe. I think this was exclusive to Japan. It came out in 1994, but it did get a port on the Taito Legends 2 PlayStation 2 compilation game.
Okay.
So that's how I found out about the game, and it's a lot of fun. I played through it recently for this episode.
Nice.
Yeah.
I also see that there was a re-release in 2022 through City Connection.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah, so I also quick mention, the Taito Legends 2 compilation also came out on Windows and Xbox in 2006.
Nice.
But yeah, this came out last year, 2022. It was one of the built-in games on the Taito Egret 2 mini arcade cabinet that came out. So it was like a little tiny baby arcade cabinet. Little tiny baby cabinet. Little baby. Little tiny baby cabinet. So this game came out on that. And also, as you mentioned, Windows via Steam, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. So you have multiple different ways to play this game. That particular version was an enhanced port that had features like you could rewind the game. So if you get stuck or lost or whatever, slow mode, quick save load, and unlimited credits, which, I mean, the Saturn version had that too. Stage select, which is new, increased healing, more lives, just like a bunch of additional features that they added to make the game easier, which is weird because the game is already very easy for the most part, but we'll talk about it throughout this episode. Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah. So let's get into it. My first pick of the Elevator Action Returns tracks is going to be Colors of the Night. All right, wake up. Welcome back. That was Colors of the Night, and appropriately, I feel like this is a very good nighttime song. Very, very dreamlike opening. I feel the first 40 to 50 seconds. I just got kind of like almost like dream sequence feelings. And then that like trumpet solo came in and was really kind of smooth. I'm probably going to use that word a lot, smooth, throughout this entire episode.
Yes.
So I apologize now for overuse.
How dare you?
But yeah, that and just like the piano that came in, I feel like this would be a nice song to take a nap or go to sleep to.
Yeah, this whole soundtrack is very chill.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of super crazy, bombastic, booming craziness going on here. It's all very smooth, very chill.
Almost elevator music, would you say?
Almost KVGM hammock music.
That too, yes.
I really dig the ending on this one. I mean, the trumpet was great too. I definitely stood out on this one, but I like the ending, how it just kind of goes in with that haunting key, dun, dun, dun. It really kind of lets the song trail out and really makes you zone out too. It's very cool. So have you played this game?
No.
Okay.
I've only heard its amazing soundtrack.
Yeah. So it's a fun little game. Have you ever played Elevator Action?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So yeah, this is obviously the sequel. Elevator Action in and of itself, it came out in 1983, so actually more than 10 years prior to Elevator Action Returns.
Oh, yeah.
So it was an arcade exclusive, and the whole point of the game was to use an elevator to go down, and as you're going down, there'll be bad guys that come out of the rooms. There's like doors all along the levels, and you're just supposed to get to the end. You can fire at them with handgun, to kill them. It kind of has a little bit of influence on games like Rolling Thunder, which I believe came out after it, if I recall. So it's pretty cool. Rolling Thunder, the game that I just mentioned that came out, it came out afterwards. It came out in 1986. So this was very clearly an influence. At least I think it's an influence on that game, on Rolling Thunder, because you're also going into doors, popping out. You get different items and different power-ups.
Yeah,
and stuff.
there are definitely elements there.
But Elevator Action was a very simplistic-looking game, obviously because it came out, in the early 80s. Whereas Elevator Action Returns is a much more detailed game.
The original looks, it has the look of games like Donkey Kong. Like there's only a handful of colors, and they do really well with the colors they can do. So I don't remember seeing this in arcades. I remember playing this on maybe NES, maybe computer.
Elevator Action, the first
original,
one?
Yeah, the original.
It got ported to a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah. But I'm seeing that the cabinet, the arcade cabinet, is one of the like sit-down types, where the screen is like on a table. Is that what it's called?
Tabletop?
Tabletop gaming, like D&D and
I think that's what they call it.
Tabletop cabinet?
Tabletop, yeah. Tabletop. That's fun to say. Tabletop. Tabletop.
But yeah, no, it's cool because like
cocktail table. That's what they call it.
Is it really?
Yeah, because you could put. That's the way they're designed. It's like a cocktail. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what the name of those are. They're sit-down arcades.
Oh yeah, cocktail table. Yeah, wow.
Cocktail tabletop.
That's
cocktail
so
tabletop. Cocktail. Oh wow, that's hard to say three times.
Cocktail tabletop.
Cocktail tabletop. Cocktail tabletop. Cocktail tabletop. All right.
I don't know where to go from there.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, no. I point that out only because I don't see a lot of those. Like I know there are a number of games that are like that, and I can only remember like one or two from when I was a kid. I want to say like Zaxxon maybe.
Yeah.
But they're different, and I think that's neat.
It's always weird to me to see the cocktail tabletop games for like newer games like Street Fighter 2 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've seen Arcade 1-Up has been doing those, and I'm like, ugh, like I can't picture playing one of those games on a tabletop, like especially since you're on one side and the other person's on the other side. So like, how does that even work? It must look really weird and stretched out. I don't know. It must not look good.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, that does make sense to me.
Because like you should be on the same playing field as them. Not like one person's in the sky and the other person's on the floor. You're basically giving somebody else the total advantage by doing that.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
No.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
It's just a weird design. And it's definitely, like, I guess it kind of works for something like Pac-Man, but it doesn't really work for, newer arcade games. So,
yeah,
strange.
So we were saying just like the original kind of had a very simplistic look. The new one, It reminds me, and I mean, for probably obvious reasons, it reminds me of kind of like how Ninja Warriors looked. Like,
yeah, a little bit, like a redesign in a way. It's very detailed visually.
And that's the thing. Like, you don't have just like, all the doors are one color and the background is blue, and your character's like, your character is fleshed out. Like, it looks, what would you say? Like, this looks better than 16-bit to me. This looks like it's early 32-bit.
Yeah, it's definitely more detailed than 16-bit. They really, there's a ton of stuff that goes on. There's helicopters flying in and out, shooting at you. There's explosions. There's missiles launching into the air. It's a very visually stimulating game, despite the fact that the sprites for all the characters are actually fairly small. They're very detailed looking, but they're also very, very small.
Yeah, I was gonna say, looking at some of the screenshots, I wouldn't guess that they were small just because of the detail that's in them.
Yeah, and there's really cool, like, little subtle details on the background. Like, you'll see spray painting everywhere. On the graffiti on the walls. You'll see the door handles. You'll see like the brick of like crumbled buildings and stuff like that. It's a very detailed, very visually stimulating game. So it's well worth a try just for that alone, just to see the spectacle of what's happening. And it also has some really impressive cutscenes that kind of play in between. When you beat a level, there'll be a screenshot basically of your heroes leaving the scene in a helicopter for almost every single scene when you beat a level.
Gotcha, yeah.
But then the intro cutscene is really, really cool, where you got, showcasing of the characters, and then there's a giant explosion, and the explosion it comes from both sides, and it's really impressive looking. It's very cool.
Oh, that is neat.
Let's get into the next track that I'm going to be playing, which is actually 3 tracks. I kind of cheated. So we're going to be playing Way Out, Rush Action, and Debriefing in that order. And these tracks are very short. They're like less than 40 seconds or 40 seconds long for each one. And I figured, you know what? These are all really cool, but we couldn't play them on their own. It just wouldn't work. So I figured I'd jam them all together.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Okay. Just this once.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for joining us back on our Elevator Action Returns Spotlight. That was 3 tracks, Way Out, Rush Action, and then finally Debriefing. Which of those 3 were your favorite?
I think Rush Action.
Ooh,
I liked all three.
Okay.
I actually think they complemented each other pretty nicely.
Yeah, I tried to line them up so that they would.
Well done.
Yeah.
I thought Way Out had a really nice bass line. But so one of my problems with the first two is that they're so short, you don't really get enough time with them to really dig in. So like I caught the bass line and I was really digging that, and then by the time I was ready to move on, the track was ending. And then with Rush Action, I thought it had a really nice synthy, like 80s type of feel. Like it was. I really liked that it came straight out with all that synth and whatnot. And then the last one, Debriefing, was cool, and that really thick bass, like that slap bass, was awesome. I thought it was fun, but my problem is like that one felt like a short loop that just kept looping. So by the time it was done, I was like, okay, I'm ready to leave.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But they were all really neat.
Yeah. Way Out had one part in particular that I really liked with like a little guitar that kind of came in like, bow, like, kind of gave it a little lick. Yeah. And I really liked that about the Way Out track. But I agree that Way Out is much too short and I wanted more of that. Rush Action, I did like it. Again, it very Tangerine Dream-esque, very spacey beginning, and I thought that was really cool. And then it kind of kicks into this really kind of nice jazz flow with some nice bass in there. But I got to say, Debriefing is my favorite of the three.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, I love funk bass. Like if I get a slap bass in there, I love that stuff. And it's just got nice. It's repetitious. For sure. More repetitious than
I love
of the
repetition.
three.
I mean,
Sure.
Around the World by Daft Punk was one of my favorite songs for a really long time.
Right. But yeah, it's a catchy little funk jam that I wouldn't mind looping over the other two instead of them. So, yeah, my vote's Debriefing of those two, or of those three. So.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we could talk a little bit about the composer.
Yeah, we can. Yasuhisa Watanabe, also known as Yak. In a lot of their credits, they're credited as Yak.
Or Yak Watanabe, right?
Yeah. They started out as an assistant back in 1988 on Bond's Adventure, which is an arcade game. They did some sound editing under Zuntata for the Ninja Warriors, same year, 1988. But they have a pretty storied... I almost said checkered, and it's not checkered. They have a pretty storied resume. As far as compositions go, we have 1991's Growl. They did music and sound effect. They also did music composition and arrangement as Yak Watanabe in 1989's Master of Weapon. PlayStation 1995, they did Night Striker, music composition on that. The same year as Elevator Action on the PlayStation, they did Fighter's Impact. And let's come up to more recently. They have been active as recently as 2021. They did Music Advantage Stage 7 for Kira Kira Star Knight Exa in 2021 in the arcades.
Right. Yeah.
So, I'm just trying to see if there's anything like that pops out here for me. Super Dragon Ball Z in 2006 on the PlayStation 2, music composition on that. Very cool. They got a lot of good stuff on here.
Yeah, stuff like Pulirula, stuff like Fighter's Impact, Psychic Force, and Psychic Force 2012. All really great soundtracks bordered down on the Dreamcast. Just like very well known, very well appreciated soundtracks for Zuntata, and of course Ninja Warriors. Fun fact, they did the screenplay for the Ninja Warriors video cinematics on the Sega CD, which they wrote the Mega CD rather.
Yeah. So they wrote the...
That's what I see, yeah, screenplay. Another one that gets mentioned quite a bit with them is Night Striker as well as Metal Black. Those are two ones that he gets around as far as notoriety goes. So
he gets around
in that Zuntata club. Yeah. So
it's a good club to be in.
It is. Yeah, as we discussed on episode 57.
Yeah.
Right. Man. All right, let's get into your next pick.
Yeah. So the next one that I have here is called The Cleaner. Welcome back to XVGM Radio. That was The Cleaner from our focus game tonight, Elevator Action Returns on the Sega Saturn.
Took me to the cleaners with this track.
Did. Mike is broke now.
That's right.
Living on the streets. We need more Patreon support.
Begging for cheese.
Begging for cheese.
Begging for cheese.
I like this one for a number of reasons. For one, I like that it grabs you right in the beginning with those, like, the orchestral stabs that you hear throughout the song, but I like how it just kind of gets you right in the beginning there. As usual, really, really nice bass. A little bit of slap in there, but overall, it just felt like a very, very smooth and thick bass.
Yeah.
And then I don't usually pay attention a lot or like focusing on the percussion, but I gotta say, like, those snare hits were very distinct. Like they were just like,
stole what I was gonna say.
I'm sorry.
Yep, the snare, punchy snare. Loved it. The percussion really highlighted very well in this track. I also loved the little cymbal taps.
Yeah, the ride cymbal?
Very subtle. No, I think it was a hi-hat. It sounded like a hi-hat. Very, very subtle. Didn't get too noisy. Really kind of knew its place, just to kind of be background noise. But man, that snare, really punchy. Loved it. Great stuff.
Very, very nice. As we will be saying more and more throughout this episode.
Oh, I mean, the whole soundtrack's incredible. It's nonstop awesome. So yeah, you're in the right place if you want to, chill out and vibe out to some really smooth VGM this
If you're
time
listening
around.
in the car, don't fall asleep.
Yes, don't.
Not our fault.
Yeah. Take 2 5-hour energies, slam them down, down your gullet, and then slam both of your feet on the
accelerator?
On the accelerator and the brake.
Oh.
Yeah, at the same time, and then get on the highway, and you'll be screaming just like nonstop while you listen to this, super chill soundtrack, so you don't fall asleep.
Yeah,
that's what you should do. Yeah,
take an entire bottle of No-Dos.
Yeah, that's it. So. To kind of continue on the gameplay, you're riding the elevators down to the bottom, typically going from the top of the level to the bottom of the level, and then typically going from right to left. Actually, in most cases, you're going from right to left typically, and then like going from down to the top. So you're basically going in like a reverse U to try to get to the end of each stage. Honestly, this is a very short game. You could probably beat this in like an hour. The hardest level is definitely at the end, where you are put on a time constraint. You have to get to the top of the level, almost like a Metroid kind of thing, where there's a counter, like a timer going down. And it's tough. I actually played through it this time recently, and I didn't beat the game because I died on that last stage, and you just get a game over. So that's it. Yeah, and you just go back to the beginning of the game. And I was like, this is the last level. I know I've beaten this one before. I know it's basically just like a you did it kind of thing. But yeah. The game is controlled on the arcade with an 8-way joystick. And then you just have 2 buttons, shoot and jump. That's it.
Don't you have to search rooms and stuff? Or is it people come out of the rooms?
People come out of the rooms, and you can search red doors and blue doors. Blue doors give you like items and points and stuff like that. Red doors give you basically you have to go into the red doors in order to proceed through the game. And there's a little timer thing that I've never encountered a situation where if you don't go to the red door fast enough that you get a game over or anything like that. But from what I understand, that is the case. I could be totally wrong on that, but I've just never experienced it, so I don't know. But you open the door and you go inside, and very similar to Rolling Thunder, you'll come out of the door, and if it's a blue door, you get like an item, like it'll be like a Rolodex sort of thing, and you gotta, like a spin the wheel thing, and you gotta hit the button to stop it, and then you get points or weapons or whatnot. On the red door, that's like the quote-unquote information door, which is part of the plot. So you're not actually doing anything other than going into the door and then coming out of the door, but yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
There's different things that you can destroy in the game. There's boxes, there's sandbags, there's crates, there's like oil cans. There's lots of oil bins, like cans, like drums, oil drums. Yeah, just hanging out in this random elevator. But you can shoot them and they'll start rolling. And then you can shoot them again and they'll blow up. And if they blow up a guy, it's actually pretty violent. Like the guy will light on fire, then you'll see this really detailed sprite on fire and just like disappears. So there's,
geez.
yeah, it's pretty violent, surprisingly for a game that has very small, tiny sprites.
Yeah. Huh. All right. Well, let's hear what you got coming up next.
Yeah, let's go with a full track, no 3-track cheating this time. We're going to hear Side by Side, Side A on this episode 101. Hey, thanks for joining us back on episode 101. Elevator Action returns. That track we just heard was Side by Side, Side A. Even though this one has a lot going on, it's a very short, repetitious loop.
Yeah.
And it starts out really strong, very full of steam, and then it just kind of peters out.
2 minutes and like a minute and a half of it is just a
Yeah. So the guitar just playing one note, like tick 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 tick, and then I love the bam bam bam, almost like Prince keys, and the bass is great here. Everything's really popping. It's very short, very repetitious.
Yeah, so. and the beginning really is like, I don't want to call it the best part because I do enjoy the rest of it.
I agree, though. It's the beginning is the best.
Those like you called them Capcom guitars.
Yes. Yeah. As far as this game goes, as I said, it's relatively short. You can beat it probably within about an hour.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it's very short. It's an arcade game first and foremost. So. It's not meant to be the type of game that you play over and over and over again. I mean, it's fun to play, absolutely, but it's a little stiff. Me personally, like the characters move, even though they look good. It's a very stiff moving game as far as the way the characters move. You can double tap to run, but again, the running is kind of janky. It's the animation is not fluid. It's just like very kind of jittery, kind of stuttery. So it's not bad. It's just, that's how it goes. You could jump from, if you go down an elevator and let's say, for example, the elevators first off will go up and down without you controlling them. So you have to wait for the elevator to drop down. Yeah. But if the elevator's going down below you or above you and you can jump across the platform, you'll do like a little flip jump to the other side, which is pretty cool. And also what I found was pretty wild was the elevator can crush you. So yeah, like if you're on the bottom or if you're in a platform and you walk under it and the elevator starts to crush you, you'll like try to grab the elevator and like then you just get crushed. But it's not like Mortal Kombat violent. It's just you kind of turn into nothing. Like it just goes poof, like one of those like boop kind of things. And then you'll respawn, and sometimes you respawn where you died, and other times you'll respawn right next to it, or maybe even a floor up or down. Which that was predominantly the reason why I ended up getting a game over, is I was running out of time, and every time I kept respawning because I kept dying, you have a life bar, and if your life bar gets drained for whatever reason, you die. And when you respawn, it's unlimited quarters. You just keep popping in quarters if you're playing it on like the PS2 or the Saturn or whatever. But when you die, when you respawn, you can respawn above or below, and sometimes it takes a while to get back to where you were, where you died. And if you make the same mistake again, then, oh, great, now I gotta do it again.
Yeah.
So it can be a little troublesome when it comes to popping back up there. So yeah.
So once you get on the elevator, why would you get off the elevator?
So the elevators to go basically to a different floor so you can access one of the red doors. Red or blue doors. Right. That's the whole point, is to access, like, you'll have a mission, quote unquote, and they tell you what the mission is or whatever, but it's just like nonsense. It's like, go to the red door, basically, is your goal. And then once you go to all the red doors, then you just have to get to the end. And it doesn't really do a good job of telling you where you have to go. So, like, you'll get the red doors in the area that you're in, and then you'll get to the bottom of the floor, and then you'll be like, wait, where do I go? Okay, I'm assuming I go left, because again, everything is right to left in this game for the most part. So you'll go left, and then that's when the level will start to scroll, and you'll start seeing more of the level. And that's also when a lot of crazy stuff starts happening, like explosions, and a bunch of bad guys will come out, and then you see a helicopter. It's a very visually stimulating game. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It's a very fun to watch game. Even if you're not playing, it's still fun to watch.
That's good.
Yeah. Good. I can't remember if this is like more than one player. I think it is. I think it might be 2-player, if I recall. But I really can't remember. Yeah.
Let's take this next musical break to find out.
Yeah, let's do that.
So, next up, I'm going to play the track called Feedback Romance, Side B.
Ugh, that's the third time this week.
What's wrong, Brad?
Oh, Monica, it's that blasted elevator coffee shop. Every time I order a coffee brewed hot and ready for me, those dang terrorist and task force groups end up rushing into the elevator, knocking into me, and spilling my coffee all over my very important business suit. I'm a busy man, you know. I don't have time to deal with hero/villain hijinks.
I think I have the solution to all your problems.
Oh, look, it's Mr. Announcer.
Excuse me, that's Dr. Announcer MD to you, bucko. Anyways, stop dealing with elevator actions when it comes to your coffee and start treating your morning latte like a gentleman or lady.
Bradley!
With our latest coffee-based travel routine, Escalator Action Cafe. Before you get on the escalator, pre-order your coffee through the Escalator Action Cafe app, and then provide us with the code via text message when you're within 5 minutes from your destination, thanks to the GPS locator recognizing you're in the vicinity. We'll begin getting your drink ready so the moment you step on our escalator, you'll be ready for a hot or cold caffeinated beverage of your choice. Got kids who want a sugar rush instead? No problem. We have 5 different flavors of hot chocolate, as well as ice cold milk. Plus, did someone say donuts?
Yay!
Oh, Brad, stop it. You're embarrassing me. You know adults don't eat donuts.
Wrong! Join the Escalator Action Cafe Club today, and every 11th coffee is free. Enjoy your beverage as you gently coast down the escalator like an ocean breeze in the misty night. We promise our escalator is action-free or your money back.
Well, of course nobody's gonna try to fight on an escalator. That would just be...
Silly? Absolutely! Download the app today on all Mandroid, Lorian, or Dragonfruit phones to find your nearest Escalator Action Cafe. Escalator Action Cafe is banned in North Dakota, Utah, and Branson, Missouri. Please get your doctor's permission before riding escalators.
All right, that was the track Feedback Romance Side B from our Sega Saturn game from 1994 called Elevator Action Returns.
I really dug that keyboard.
Yeah.
You know, the kind of back and forth keys. It was very chill, very relaxing. And, you know, this track gave me some Paradise Killer vibes a little bit.
Yeah?
You know, yeah, it kind of reminded me a little bit of
Yeah,
Killer.
I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
It has almost a vaporwave feel to it.
Yeah.
The thing that got me about this track to start off was that opening. It felt, just with the drums and everything else going on for the first good while, it felt like an acoustic track, which I thought was really neat, considering that there's a lot of synth and whatever else going on throughout the rest of the soundtrack.
Sure.
And I mean, you do get some synths, you get some chimes coming in there, but it's still like it keeps that bongo or whatever drum that they're using there. It just gives it an acoustic feel.
Kind of sounded bongo-y.
Yeah. And then like partway through the track, maybe halfway, you get these sounds of crowd, and in my mind, I kind of imagine we're at like a cafe or something.
Okay.
Which, it doesn't really make sense for the game because unless you're stopping at like a cafe.
Maybe there was a crowd and there was a cafe.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe there was a escalator where you could get coffee.
Oh, that's fair.
That's a possibility.
I could see that. That's a pretty good business model.
Yeah. I could see that happening.
Yeah.
Definitely not an elevator, though.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd spill the coffee all over yourself.
Where there'd be like guys running in and out, all those like terrorists and stuff. It just wouldn't work.
No, absolutely not.
No.
But so I also felt like that crowd, not necessarily that it gave it like an acoustic feel, but it added more to just the sense of what I was getting from the track. Like I was already kind of like, the bongos and, acoustic kind of like outside, maybe at like, again, a cafe, like an open mic night or like a local band type thing. So,
you actually mentioned something that triggered something in my mind that I thought about. I realized that playing through this fairly recently, the tracks don't loop right away. This has to be Red Book audio because you'll be playing through a level and you'll get to a part where there'll be a lull in the music where basically the track will end and then it'll take a minute for it to start back up. And I don't know if that's just because of the way that I was playing it on the Title Legends 2 compilation, but I believe it's a straight up port from the Saturn version.
Okay.
And I know that Sega CD also had that problem where like you'd be playing a game, one game in particular that comes to mind is Amazing Spider-Man vs. Kingpin.
Okay.
Where you'll be playing the game and all the music will be playing, and the way that they did it in that game, they didn't pick certain levels that have certain music. Literally just the soundtrack is like a roulette. So like you'll be playing the game and you'll hear a song and then it'll end. And then it takes a while for a new song to start playing.
Interesting.
I'm not a fan of that in particular. I prefer a dedicated soundtrack, not like random songs just kind of popping up out of nowhere. It's okay, I think, if it's a fighting game, where you can like pick the tracks and stuff like that, that's fine. But like in an action game or anything like that, I feel like it should not be on like any kind of roulette. But anyways, this game doesn't do that. It plays the same song. It's just, it takes a while for it to loop back to the beginning of the song. So you'll be playing in basically silence, and it kind of distracts you a little bit, takes you out of the experience a little. So, yeah.
I almost feel like you should only get music when you're riding an elevator.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's cool stuff in this game too from a visual standpoint where you'll shoot different cameras that'll be hanging, or like, there's spider bots that'll be, dropping down from the ceiling. So you can aim up like a diagonal way to shoot, and you can duck and shoot, and you can shoot forward or left.
So what you're saying is you're better than Mega Man.
Yes. Yeah.
No, but that's cool, because I wouldn't have thought that, because I'm pretty sure the original elevator action, and again, I mean, this is the sequel, so it makes sense that they would improve upon it, but I think you could really just like shoot straight whatever direction you were facing. You
like
shot.
Mega Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yes, that's cool though, that you can, that there are other things to shoot. You're not just like shooting the terrorists. There are like cameras, so that they added more to what you need to do there. That's really cool.
They also, like, you could shoot the lights out too. Like, you could shoot at the wall on certain spots in the wall. Will have like these, like, I don't want to say light switch, but these giant like things that look like, I don't know, like electronics of some sort. So you shoot it out, and then the lights go out, and when the lights go out, it's not just like a boom, like they kind of flicker a little bit. It's a really cool look to the way that they do it, and then they come back on to, like, as you move throughout the elevators and the floors. So it's pretty cool.
That is really neat.
Yeah. I also want to point out the name on this, Feedback Romance Side B. That is, man, that's like a vaporwave aesthetic right there.
That's true. Yeah. That also could absolutely be the name of a track on the
Paradise Killer. Yeah.
That's
for sure.
100% fair.
Yeah. Let's get into the next track, which is going to be for my pick. This is Red Suit. Thanks for coming back on XVGM Radio. That was Red Suit off of our Elevator Action Returns Spotlight. All music on this one's by Yasuhisa Watanabe of Zuntata.
Yes. This is the first one that's really kind of grabbed me, and it's been
energetic.
Yeah. Like this is definitely an action song.
Yeah.
As opposed to a lot of the other stuff that we've heard could be just about anything, like a cutscene or just general background music. This one feels like something is happening.
Yeah, I can agree with that. It's very kind of panicky. in a lot of ways. It almost reminds me of something from Chrono Trigger with those organs.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Okay.
that's the vibe that I got. But I love that bass line. The fact that it never gets rested. It's always just.
It's really catchy too.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I really enjoyed that line. So it's funny. So you say Chrono Trigger. I say this could be a snow level in Mega Man X.
Okay, I could see that
Chill
too.
Penguin or Frost Walrus.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Any of those guys.
Yeah, there's an almost like Capcom, like CPS2 quality to a lot of these tracks. Not quite, but they have that kind of smooth jazz, acid jazz kind of vibe to it, funk. You know, it's just all over the place without straying too far into something that's super energetic. But yeah, this is probably the most energetic song that we've heard so far on this soundtrack. The 3 characters that you can pick at the beginning of the game, that you see at the beginning of the game, there's 3 different ones. Cart Bradfield. I swear to you that's his name. Cart, like Mario Kart. K-A-R-T.
K-A-R-T, yep.
Yeah. He's 23 years old. He's a very thin man, very blonde. He's got the like heavy metal, hair metal rocker kind of bandana on, like leopard print bandana. And he's wearing a brown vest with a button-down, white-collared shirt and jeans. And he's all armed up to the T. And he is definitely the fastest of the 3 characters, but he's definitely a little bit weaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next character is Edie Burrett, and she is 21 years old instead of 23, so a little younger. She's actually the youngest member of the group.
Oh, yeah.
Brown-haired girl. She's wearing a red tank top, and she's got, I think, a necklace or something around her neck, but I can't tell. Wearing green pants. She's got a little half shirt almost, and she's got knee pads on, and she just looks like a little tomboyish. When you select her character, she doesn't have a red headband. But then when you see her in cutscenes, she does. She has like a little red hairband thing. The third character, his name is Jad the Taff. What is a Taff?
A Taff is a Welshman.
Oh.
Apparently he is Welsh.
Okay. That makes sense, I guess. He's very tall and he's very strong. He's also very durable, so he's definitely the strongest of the group. Edie is more lacking in power, but has really good gun skills, so she's the best when it comes to using guns. Jad the Taff has a lot of power, kind of middle-of-the-road guns, and he is super slow, as can be expected, because he's like the tall lunk.
He's the tank guy.
Yeah, the tank guy. What's really funny is the names of the guns. So, Cart uses a Glog 18. Glog 18.
Oh, interesting.
Right? Not a Glock, a Glog 18. Huh. His sub-weapon is a hand grenade. So, you can collect these different sub-weapons that you can use just by pressing the sub-weapon button, and it like throws like a hand grenade or...
It's like up and attack, right?
Yeah. Edie's sub-weapon is firebomb. It's kind of like a Molotov cocktail.
Okay.
And her gun is the Beretta M92F.
Yeah.
Very clearly a...
Beretta.
Beretta. They messed up on the letters there. And then my favorite, Jad's weapon, his sub-weapon is a sensor bomb, which I don't really remember using it, but the gun is a Desert Eagle. And when I say desert, I mean like dessert.
Oh, it's a dessert.
It's a Desert Eagle.
They put 2 S's in there.
Desert Eagle.
Delicious.
All I can picture is like a giant cake, but it's shaped like an eagle.
Yeah. That's what I picture too.
Yeah.
Like that. Like those.
Great minds think alike.
Is it cake memes?
Right. Yeah.
It looks so real, but it's cake.
Yeah, like you cut into it, and it's like one of those things where you're like, oh, that's a bald eagle. Oh wow, how pretty. And then like the one with the dog, where they cut the dog's face off, and then they cut to the picture of like an actual dog looking at that, and it's like, what the heck? That's such a good meme.
Yes.
Anyways, now I'm hungry, and we should probably move into our next pick.
Yeah, so I think that's me.
I love this title.
Yes, understandably. And I will admit, I picked this because of the title.
Of course you did.
But the song is good too. So the title of the track is I Can Only Think in Job.
All right.
Welcome back once again. That was I Can Only Think in Job. And it was not a silly track, but it has a silly, silly name.
Agreed. I really like this song. This one is really good. It's just one of those types of songs where even though it's a loop, I could listen to this for hours.
Agreed.
It's so chill and smooth.
I really did like the way this one looped, and I agree. I could have just gone on for a while and then would have put in like, oh no, we've been here for an hour.
Oh no, we're 75.
Whoops. But yeah, aside from the things that we've been, talking about with the really nice bass and everything else, the things that kind of stand out to me on this one are, I can't decide if it's supposed to be a laser or if it's somebody just like running their hand down a silk curtain. And it's not really random, like it comes in like every couple of measures. But then even slightly more random than that is the offset. Like, again, I can't tell if this is like a clap or if it's like a
wood block.
Yeah, like
okay.
Not a wood block, but like one of those things that like it's clapping, but it's wood. So you don't get this sound, you get more of like a clunking.
I was
clacking.
mostly still focused on the bass and the drums here. I like the switch over to the ride cymbal. That was fun. And just, again, gives it a nice, smooth jazz vibe. It's just great. Really relaxing. So, yeah, I could listen to this for hours. Good pick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
When I listen to this, I can only think in Job.
Same. Job is only think I can. Oh no, I'm broken.
I think I can. Job. Fun little bit of information which we discovered while we were listening to this this smooth track. So there are plenty of other elevator action games out there. So it is a fun little series of games. What I think is pretty wild is there's one game in particular that came out on the Game Boy Color. And it's an elevator action game. It's called Elevator Action EX. Developed by Ultron and Taito. And it came out only in Japan and Europe in 2000. Okay. And it's very similar to this game in the sense that you can play as 3 different characters, 2 guys or a girl.
Right.
No pizza place involved. But what's wild is they converted this over to a licensed game in North America called Dexter's Laboratory Robot Rampage, based on the Dexter's Lab show, the Cartoon Network show.
That's wild. So they reskinned the game.
Yeah, they totally reskinned it. So I don't know if the music's different. I'm assuming that the music's all the same. I haven't heard the soundtrack. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. Who knows? I'm assuming it is, but that's for another time, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe
we'll do a focus on that now.
yeah. Do a focus on Dexter's Lab, Robot Rampage.
Nice.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, no, that's interesting. And I mean, obviously that's not the first time that's ever happened.
Sure.
Super Mario Brothers 2 in America was reskinned Doki Doki Panic and is now just known as Super Mario Brothers USA.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see when it happens because I don't feel like it is a common thing.
No.
Like I know there's a number of other examples of that, but it's always just something where they're just like, this won't go over well in America, but if we add this licensed property to it, then that we think that'll sell like hotcakes.
I mean, that's the whole Crazy Castle games.
Yeah.
The Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle games are various different games. There's Mickey Mouse games, they're Woody Woodpecker games. They're all over the place when they get converted to here. So it's kind of wild that companies do that. What I thought was very interesting about this is it came out in Japan on the 29th of September in 2000, and then the Dexter's Lab game came out in November 14th. So they had 2 months to reskin the whole game, unless, I'm assuming, they were working on it at the same time.
Right.
But that's wild because it's, again, developed by Ultron and Taito. So I'm assuming that the North American branch of Taito, which was still Taito back then, it wasn't owned and operated by Square. Nowadays, Square Enix owns Taito. So I don't know. That's a really good question, like how they ended up doing that. It's kind of strange. Yeah.
Funky.
But that's all that I have to say about that. I mean, the cool track, again, we're just thinking of stuff to talk about other than just, going over the basics. So I thought that was a neat little tidbit.
Yeah. No, that's really cool.
Yeah. And, since I can only think in Job, that's what I do.
All right. Well, do your job and bring up your next song.
All right. So we're going to play Breakbeat next on our Elevator Action Returns Spotlight. that little number was Breakbeat off the Elevator Action Returns soundtrack that we are talking about today.
I was expecting something a bit more energetic and a bit more breakbeaty. Yeah.
I do like the focus here again on the drums, though. Very simple, smooth, exciting, but not like too out there. It's awesome.
Yeah, the drums were really cool in this, as they have been. A bit more noticeable to me. Like I said before, I don't really tend to focus much on the percussion just because I get lost in everything else. But I will say it was difficult to focus on anything other than that bass.
Yeah,
it was very, very in your face, which I liked because the bass line and the groove that it was in was just very smooth.
Yeah. The rhythm section really takes over on this soundtrack. Like, there's a big focus on just keeping that bass grooving and walking and keeping those drums flowing smooth. So It's nice to see a soundtrack focus on drums and bass without it sounding too chaotic,
Yeah, because if it's too much drums and bass, you can get drum and bass, which isn't bad. I like drum and bass, but
Exactly.
that tends to get real crazy.
Yes. And that just wouldn't fit in this type of game.
No.
Because your characters don't move super fast, and because you're just basically riding elevators and walking around, it is as exciting as you would expect, but also you get a bit of a spy vibe to a lot of these moments in the game, and the music perfectly fits with that. You're these mercenaries going around in these buildings, and then getting outside of the buildings, which is really cool because then you get to kind of explore a little bit more of the levels as they kind of start scrolling, and it's pretty seamless for the most part. It's not like loading like a Mega Man screen where like it loads every time. It seems pretty fluid. So
That's good. Mm-hmm. It's fluid and flows, much like its music.
Yes, very good point. This game is pretty well known amongst like Taito fans, and it's a shame that it never came out here officially outside of compilations in terms of like back in the day, because I really feel like if this came out on the Saturn in the US, it would have done pretty well. If it came out on the PlayStation or the N64, which probably not the N64, more like maybe the GameCube. I don't know. I'm not. I can't really picture this, surprisingly enough, on Nintendo systems. I just don't think it would fit well. I think that it fits in the current market with that S Tribute re-release that they did. So it fits great on the Switch. And if you don't want to hunt down a 15-year-old PS2 compilation, you've got the game at your fingertips right now. You can go and download it, which is awesome. So it's good that it got re-released.
Yeah. I mean, how else would we play it?
Yeah. True story. I also do see here that it says single player and multiplayer. So I just don't know how many characters you can pick from. I want to say 3. I want to say that I believe that you can play this 3-player where all 3 people can be chosen.
Oh, really?
That's definitely a strong possibility. If not, it's 2-player. I mean, those are our only options. It's 2-player or 3-player.
No, it's 4-player.
5-player. Now you're playing with players.
Now you're powering with player.
Just too busy thinking in job. Sorry.
That's true.
Yeah. Anyways, let's get into your next pick.
All right. Well, my last pick may sound like it is going to be a strong bad song from Homestar Runner, but it is not. It is just called System Down.
I see what you did there.
Okay, that was my last pick for this Elevator Action Returns focus episode. You got one more coming from Mike in just a bit, but that was System Down, not to be confused with The System Is Down. So,
this isn't bad, but this is probably my least favorite track on the soundtrack.
That's fair. It is a bit
very
repetitive. And the thing that kind of takes away from it, listening to it again tonight, is that it feels like it's going somewhere. Like, this is another good action track, and it feels like it's going somewhere, and you're just waiting the entire time, and it doesn't actually go somewhere.
Yes, totally agree.
It is the Shaggy Dog story of this soundtrack.
You mean like when a dog gets wet and then it like has to shake, but you're like expecting it to shake, but it doesn't shake?
You don't know what a Shaggy Dog story is?
No, what's a Shaggy Dog story?
Oh, I'll have to tell you a Shaggy Dog story after this, but it's kind of like an anti-comedy comedy where the comedy comes from the fact that you're telling a person a story that then they're expecting like a really great punchline. It's just a story that kind of doesn't really go anywhere.
Oh, interesting. I've never heard that before.
I'm surprised because I feel like it is your brand of comedy.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, not non sequitur,
Yeah, well, I mean, it can be
stuff.
non sequitur-ish. Actually, I have two that I can probably tell when we're done recording.
Okay.
But the thing is, what makes them funny is people tend to like fluff them up and make them as long as possible. Yes. So like, I have told a Shaggy Dog story for I think a total of 5 or 6 minutes before I finally got to the punchline. People were like, "Really?" and that's just it. Like,
that's awesome.
The person telling the Shaggy Dog story gets the last laugh.
Right. Yeah, it's like a internal payoff, so to speak. That's funny. I've never heard of that before. Wow, that's weird. Yeah. You'll have to share it in the Discord, the stories. Because I'm sure people are listening and they're like, wait, what? Yeah. Or maybe they haven't heard of that either. So.
That's true, too.
Yeah.
I don't know how well it would work in a text venue. Like, yeah, it takes a while to read the stuff, but there's something about telling someone the story and then seeing the look on their face. It's like a pun or a dad joke. Like, people tend to be like, I get why this is funny, but no. But inside you're like, but yes.
So my favorite type of humor is abstract or surreal humor.
That's fair too.
Yeah.
There are some Shaggy Dog stories that get a little bit abstract, but like the comedy doesn't come from that. The comedy comes from the person you're telling the story to waiting for this payoff and then getting there and then not really be that kind of a payoff.
One of my favorite bits to do with friends is to say something, like start something off and then we'll continue it and it'll just get so ridiculous and insane. It's like, yeah, and then maybe he had a gun. Oh, and maybe then when he shot the gun, like pies came out, like that sort of stuff. Like that's pretty much like if you combine the Tim and Eric show with the Eric Andre show, that's like my two favorite abstract type surrealist shows.
That's fair. Yeah.
I'm trying to pin down your humor.
I'm more of a classical kind of guy when it comes to humor. Like, I like some slapstick. I've actually been watching Police Squad recently.
Oh, cool.
I never realized that it was only 6 episodes.
Wow.
Then it became the Naked Gun movies.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Like, so Leslie Nielsen, a lot of that stuff I found entirely hilarious as a kid, and I still do.
Yeah, he's great.
Wordplay, especially clever wordplay, is really good for me. But I mean, I'm pretty basic when it comes to comedy. Like, I like it because it's funny, and I mean, everybody has a different definition of what's funny. But like, if it's funny to most people, it's probably funny.
I like bad jokes, or self-deprecating stuff, fourth wall breaking stuff. Oh yeah, that's all my jam.
Yeah, I love puns, especially bad puns.
Yes,
puns are great. They're the lowest form of comedy, but it's fine.
Oh, it's so good though. Like when you get a good pun. And you can get somebody that doesn't see it coming. Those are the best.
Those are the best.
Because then you could just be like, pun dog, the meme for pun dog. You could just do a pun dog face. Who's just like, so. Oh, man. Anyways, we got wildly sidetracked off of this. Hey, wouldn't you know it, the soundtrack to Elevator Action Returns came out on Pony Canyon Records. And what's interesting is that the front cover has the World Trade Center. Yeah, the Twin Towers. And there's a description on there that is also kind of haunting, if you think about it. This came out in what, like
94.
94. So it says, and I quote, "You're in the line of fire. Flames are burning all around you. You are part of a special task force sent to put an end to international terrorist groups' plans for global destruction. With an arsenal of nuclear bombs, this band of evil men Hold the World for Ransom. That is on the front cover of the Elevator Action Returns CD soundtrack. The back of the cover is the Empire State Building with the track listing. So, yeah.
It's interesting because, I never really thought of this game as taking place in like New York City, but as soon as you say it now I don't know where else I can imagine it taking place. Like,
yeah. No, that's true.
That's interesting how that works in your brain.
I don't think they ever actually mention where it takes place.
I'm fairly sure they don't.
In the game. The plot is just you control one of these three characters that are part of a special task force that have to foil the terrorist group that's planted various different nuclear bombs in all different like locations. So you're just jumping from location to location, going through the elevators, dismantling the bombs. That's pretty much it. So you go into the red doors, that dismantles the bombs, or it gets you information to dismantle the bombs too. That's pretty much the plot of the game. It's very light on plot, but that's kind of wild. The very end of the game, there's this rocket, like I mentioned earlier, and the rocket is shooting up. And as it's shooting up, the timer is going down. So you're going up the platforms. Some of the elevators feel more like platforms than elevators. I mean, yes, the whole point is that they are motorized and they get you from one floor to the next, but they feel more like facility platforms and not like elevators, so to speak. You know what I mean? But that's it. Let's get into my final pick.
Last track of the show.
Last track. We're going to go with Blow Up, composed by Yasuhisa Watanabe. All right, that was my final pick for our Elevator Action Returns Spotlight. That song was called Blow Up, and it was by Yasuhisa Watanabe, who composed the entire soundtrack on this wonderful game. Man, I love that song. That was so very good. I get like Weather Channel vibes from this.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed kind of the focus on the piano on this one.
I love that, yeah.
Yeah, because we've heard bits and pieces of piano in the other tracks, but like this one, it was just like the bass and the piano.
Yeah.
Like a match made in heaven.
Yeah, it almost like could have used like a like an up and down on the keyboard, like in between those. Yeah, I think that'd be kind of neat if they did something like that. But like this was great, and one thing I really like about this song is that it feels the most complete out of any song we've listened to personally. It feels like a complete song that you would hear like an instrumental for in like an elevator. Get it? While you're, actioning and returning. So
Nice.
Yeah, I really like this one.
I think we both also really liked the vocal sample that it opened up with.
Oh yeah, what was that? It sounded like he was saying like,
Look at you, something or other.
look at you at your job. That's what I thought it said.
Definitely not that.
Look at you at your job. I can only think in job.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like the door closing sound effect there. That's pretty neat.
I don't think we had any vocal samples in any of the other tracks.
No.
This is kind of unique on this.
Yeah.
Which is always nice.
I'm okay with that. So I guess what we could take away from this is you should play Elevator Action Returns, and now you have the ability to do it without paying a very hefty price on the Saturn. The Saturn version is very, very, very expensive, like hundreds of dollars for a complete inbox copy.
Dang.
Yeah, and it was import only. So if you wanted to go the cheaper route, either getting it on that Taito Legends 2 compilation on various different systems, when I bought it, it was $35 complete inbox, and that was a lot back then too for like a PS2 like compilation game. So probably just say your best bet is the Switch, PS4, Xbox One.
Yeah, the re-release.
It's
gonna feel a bit better anyway.
Yeah, and like all the additional like modes and stuff. Like I almost want to just go and buy it now just to like have it so that if something ever happened to my Taito Legends 2 disc, like I specifically bought that Taito Legends 2 copy because I wanted Elevator Action Returns.
Right.
So now I can get it on the Switch.
Probably pick it up there too.
Yeah. All right. So now's the time of the episode where we pick our favorite tracks. Justin, what was your favorite track?
I don't know if I can pick a track because right now I can only think in job.
Well played, sir.
Also, like Red Suit was really good.
Yeah.
But I can only think in job. I think was probably my top pick here.
That was my pick up until Blow Up. That's my favorite for sure.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, that was a really good one too. I did like what they did with the piano and the bass there. And,
so smooth.
And again, just that opening tickled my fancy.
Yeah. What was your favorite track? Let us know however you want to.
In the comments.
Somewhere.
So, we'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons, without whom this show's continued improvement would be impossible. They are Cam Worma, Jordan and Anson Davis, Rage Cage, Kung Fu Carlito of the Heroes 3 podcast, Scott McElhone, Chris Myers, Brad Austin, Chris Murray, Llama Adam, Marcus Stewart, Scott Brackett, Nick Davis, and Ryan McPherson.
If you would like to become a patron, you can sign up at patreon.com/XVGM Radio. There you can see the different tiers as well. Just $1 gets you a thank you and access to our monthly live shows.
You can visit our website, xvgmradio.com, where you can listen to all the episodes and learn more about your hosts, as well as any of our guests or composers that we've had on the show.
If you'd like to reach out to us, you can always email us at xvgmradio@gmail.com.
If you like what you've heard, please consider giving us a review on iTunes.
You can join our Facebook group and chat with other VGM lovers at www.facebook.com/groups/XVGM Radio, where we talk about everything from current game news to sharing awesome VGM tracks or just talking about the podcast itself.
You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle on both those sites is @XVGM Radio.
If you don't have any other social media or just want to try something unique, check us out on our Discord group chat. Links in the show notes. All right, Justin, in 1 month, we're coming back. But before we come back in 1 month, what else do we got going on?
So, by the time this episode comes out, we will have already just have done our May live show. So the 12th of May is the Patreon live show, and this month was patron picks. So hopefully you got your tracks in on time, and we played it for you. Next month in June, it will be Patreons will be picking a theme. So I don't even know what we're going to be doing then, but it will be determined about a week or two before the actual show goes live.
Indeed.
So coming up at the end of this month, May the 23rd, we will be doing our XVGM After Dark with a special guest, Ed Wilson from the VG Embassy. He is going to be trucking on down to my house with a record, the vinyl soundtrack for Starsky and Hutch.
Which is by Tim Fallon.
Yes, it is a Tim Fallon soundtrack. So we are going to be listening to that. I believe he said it was a double LP.
Ooh.
So I could be wrong.
Lots of 70s funk and progressive rock styled stuff, I'm sure.
So
lots of guitar going waka-chicka.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to see the three of us listen to this and discuss it on Twitch, then head on over to Twitch or just take a look at the Discord. We will have an event set up in the Discord that you can join, basically, and it'll let you know when we actually start, and it'll give you the link to my Twitch.
What is your Twitch?
It is twitch.tv/shock83j16.
There you go. Okay. But in 1 month, we are coming back with another episode 102.
Oh yeah, that's happening.
And what are we tackling?
So we're going to be continuing what we started a few episodes ago in episode 99. This will be the musical history of Natsume Part 2.
Indeed. This is going to be a continuation of the episode 99, the musical history of Natsume Part 1. This time we're going to be diving into the tail end of the joint relationship between Natsume Inc. and Natsume USA before they turned into Natsume USA, basically like a North American company that was pretty much exclusively putting out stuff like Harvest Moon, all the Harvest Moon games. So we'll be tackling some of those Harvest Moon games as well, sharing stories about those. And the part 3 will be a future episode that we'll be doing as well, and that will focus on the Atari Natsume era of Natsume, which is the more recent stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So stay tuned in 1 month for that. This is Mike
And Justin
signing off for XVGM Radio. Sorry, I gotta sneeze.
Bless you. Okay.
What was your favorite track? Let us know however you want to. I don't know.
In the comments.
Somewhere,
Discord.
everywhere,
To my
everything
email.
all at once.
Write it on my lawn. Set it on fire.
I might do that. I really like this track. And then put
Just
details.
look out my window one day and I see the words blow up in flames on my lawn. I'm like, what the? All right.
Whoops. Ruh-roh.